Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Minute Women podcast. My name is Grace.
And I'm Linnea.
And it's the last episode of 2020.
You know what? Thank God.
Thank God.
I'm done with 2020. I am over it.
I think of all the beautiful naivete we started this year with when we started this podcast in February of 2020. When coronavirus was just a meme happening on the other side of the world. Yeah.
We had no idea. And here we are. I did see this meme though the other day that was like, imagine if 2020 is just the preview. It's just the trailer of 2021.
Dun, dun.
I can't. I quit. No, thank you.
So this is not relevant to anything except coronavirus, but have you seen the trailer for that new Michael Bay film that's like an action film set like in the future? We're on COVID 23.
Oh, with Archie from Riverdale.
It makes me so angry every single time because basically the premise of that movie is like, you were right. The government wants you. This illness is just so the government can invade your apartment and brutalize you. It's just like, is that really the message we're trying to send, Michael Bay? Is that really what we need right now?
You do good work. I'm not criticizing that you do good work. But just stop because we just need some positivity.
Please stay in your wheelhouse of exploding cars. Please do not make social commentaries about real pandemics that are happening right now.
For anyone wondering my opinion on the Netflix series, The Queen's Gambit, for anyone who was waiting for that, I will say that something very special about the show The Queen's Gambit is that there's a lot of television shows these days that main characters die and bad things happen to them, and we've just become okay with that as a society. It's just expected that the people you care about are going to go through turmoil. And I will say, there are hardships in the series The Queen's Gambit. I mean, she's an orphan. That's hardship right there. But I just kept waiting for the shoe to drop and the shit to hit the fan, and it never happened. And I was so happy, genuinely happy. You just root and root and root for this character, and she actually just for anyone who hasn't seen it,
overcome.
For anyone who hasn't seen it, I will tell you, there is hardship, there are low points, but as far as television today goes, the terrible things you anticipate happening don't happen. And I don't know if that's just a 2020 mindset. You're just you see that random extra standing in the corner. Yeah, he's got a gun. No, none of that stuff happens. It's all just, people are just people. And the story is just about, the story. And I miss television like that.
Well, I think Sean Bean died in Game of Thrones. And the message that was sent to the rest of film and television making was if TV is going to be good, the main character has to be able to die.
I 100% agree.
Die at any moment, even if it's not good for the story or it's bad for the plot. It's if we are going to be taken seriously as a television program, main characters need to die.
But Shonda Rhimes has had success with that as well, with a show like Grey's Anatomy. There was never... Yeah. You never had a soapy sitcom where you could just kill off fan favorites and still have success. And she really found that niche of people you love to hate the fact that she kills off your favorite character.
Turns out we just want death.
And I think 2020 has really lightened some people the heck up. And we're no, let her live.
Please stop.
Yeah, please stop. So, for anyone needing a show that has some depth, but won't devastate you to your very core, go watch The Queen's Gambit. It's a good one.
Was The Queen's Gambit your favorite show of 2020?
I don't know, man. Tiger King, The Last Dance, Love is Blind. There were some winners.
Bad for healthcare, great for television.
The start of quarantine, really though, like it was like Tiger King and The Last Dance came out like in this quick succession, and no one knew what to do with themselves. I don't know if Tiger King, a show like Tiger King, really would have had the success it had. Like, imagine if a show like Making a Murderer came out at the start of quarantine. Like, people like dabbled in that, but there'd be like a 3-part television movie right now if that had come out during quarantine. Like people were actually Joe Exotic for Halloween. Like,
that was like months after the show came out. Like, Tiger King wasn't cool anymore at Halloween, but people were still like,
why is this happening? Like, people thought that was funny. And yet it was funny.
It was. It's funny. I think like if a Making Murderer came out during quarantine, it just would have given people like too many ideas of like, oh wow, what's possible?
Let me tell you how many women, well, I mean, the amount of breakups that occurred was a lot during quarantine.
Yep.
But
babies or breakups, it was one or the other.
Right? But do you think any of those breakups resulted in like a Carol Baskin scenario?
I mean, there's gotta be one or two, right?
Interesting. Have you ever heard the song Goodbye Earl by the Dixie Chicks?
Maybe. I probably would know it to hear it, but like I'm not a huge Dixie Chicks fan.
Okay. Oh, they're called the Chicks now.
Oh yes, sorry, just the Chicks. Another event of 2020.
Yes. However, the song is about two best friends, and one like leaves and moves out of their small town. And the other stays, and she meets this guy named Earl, and Earl seems really great, and still he starts like hitting her, and then Earl is bad. But this is a funny song because
that's when Earl is bad.
so then the best friend comes back, and they decide that Earl had to die, and it's this whole song about goodbye Earl. And I recommend you go to listen. My sister, who's 11, has recently gotten a kick out of this song. She thinks it is so funny. And it really does. It really just kind of sums up 2020. Like, I mean, it came out in like the 90s, and I'm like, this song is so relevant. I feel like people would feel this. 2020 is the year of like just dreaming up and watching television shows about murder. That's what we do.
The song of 2020 is Hello Earl by the Dixie Chicks.
Just the chick.
All right. Sorry, the Chicks.
Okay, so if our listeners haven't realized, we're doing a bit of a different format for our episode today.
Oh yeah.
This is our final episode of 2020, and Grace and I just want to have some fun. We've been separated for a while now. We're missing each other, not able to have these little quippy conversations on our own time. So we're going to have them on yours. So enjoy.
This is what you don't hear.
Welcome to the stuff that happens between the actual points that are important for each of our podcast episodes. This is the stuff that Mark usually cuts. So
I think in honor of your Nan, who is basically like the third host of the podcast at this point, that we should call these types of episodes minute women episodes. It's the Minute Women podcast.
So that's for those, I know we've mentioned it on an episode, but my grandmother, who is quite minute herself, she saw me sharing. She's okay at the Facebook. She was a culprit of thinking LOL meant lots of love, and she literally, like a meme, commented on like her friend whose cat had died and was like, "That's sad, LOL." And I was like, Nana, not okay. But anyway. Yes, my Nana Helen, she is a lovely lady. She thought that, because I'm not very tall, I'm just like 5 feet-ish. And my grandmother said, "Oh, that's so funny. Is Grace also a small girl?" And I was like, "What do you mean?" And she's like, "Your podcast, I don't know what she calls it. She calls it like a radio show. She really doesn't quite get it. But she's like, your friend on the radio show, is she also small? The minute women?" And I was like, "Oh, Nana, you're so cute." She is shorter than me, and I'm very short.
Oh no. Well,
Yeah,
not oh no. Short
she's a
people are
tiny
allowed
little
to
lady.
exist.
Just some of them, not many.
The Minute Women podcast is very pro short women.
Yeah,
We
we
support
love
short women
and short men.
and short men.
Yeah,
Our short hunks out there.
yeah. You exist. We're
You
here
exist.
for
We
you.
see you.
Yeah.
And there's a lady out there for you. She might be towering over you, but in 2021, I hope that's what becomes more acceptable.
Yeah.
Tall ladies with short guys.
Yeah. Height differences in relationships in 2020. I'm here for it. 2021. 2021 over. Thank God.
Thank goodness. There's only 11 days left.
Oh, that's crazy.
I know. It's not even 2 weeks.
Christmas is coming.
Oh, I'm so excited for Christmas. I just got home today from Halifax.
Yes.
I'm in Cape Breton now.
And I went to Halifax today because the restrictions have lifted. Now, technically, I wasn't supposed to be going into Halifax until tomorrow, but it's my only day off, people. And 24 hours really isn't going to make that much of a difference, Dr. Strang. I wore a mask. I was very cautious.
You were very cautious.
I was very cautious, but I had to deliver Grace's Christmas present to someone who'd be traveling to Cape Breton so that she could get it. And I, in return, got my Christmas present from her, which had a beautiful hand-painted bag. So sweet, so thoughtful, so cute. Your gift is not hand-painted. But I will give you a little hint. There is a Minute Women podcast theme to your Christmas present.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I will give you a hint. I will also to counterbalance the hand-painted bag. There is also, it's like the gift itself is kind of like wrapped in newspaper because tissue paper is an adult purchase that I have never made. So it's just kind of like one nice layer of packing paper and then newspaper. So, feeling
very blessed to be at home at my mother's over the holidays because I was just like privy to her plethora of wrapping equipment. It's quite a
I came home today and I knew this in advance, but it's kind of really the reality of my situation is kind of dawning on me, which is that my room has become my mom's wrapping room. So I am surrounded by all of the like gift wrap and everything else. It's just kind of like most of my luggage is just gifts for like people because I should have ordered them to my parents' house because that's where I'm doing Christmas, but I was too excited and got it sent to my apartment.
Yeah,
so I have like 3 bags of gifts, and then it's just all this wrapping paper. So,
yeah,
I mean, it's very festive. But in terms of your gift, as a clue, it's a gift for you, but it's also a gift for Little Blue.
Oh,
because you let me borrow her a few times.
I did. Little Blue is my car. For you car fans out there, I am not a car fan, and I drive a 2007 Toyota Corolla. And what I will tell you about the 2007 Toyota Corolla standard model is that it's a car that will last you a lifetime. And when I say
She'll
lifetime,
never die.
I don't mean a car lifetime. I mean at least a cat's lifetime.
I was gonna be like a blue whale. Like,
yeah,
the wreckage of human civilization will be before us in like 2050, I guess. None of us will be around. But then your car will just be atop a mountain like, I did it. I outlasted them all.
One cockroach on it. The fact that my car, like, this just sums up 2020. That the 2007 Toyota Corolla passed the safety inspection this summer. So for 2 more years. I was like, what? And honestly, my mechanic was just like, it's fine, just go.
Don't even worry about it. When I borrowed the car the first time, I drove it to Cape Breton, and I got in the car with my younger brother, who's, he's 16. He hasn't really seen the world.
He's a little privileged.
A little privileged, a little sheltered from life. And, Little Blue, she leaks. She's got a leaky window. 2 leaky windows.
Not when it's raining, when the rain sits on it. So if it's like a rainstorm and you're in the car, you don't get wet. It's if you like leave it at night and it rains and then the rain sits on it, then the next day it'll like trickle down.
Yeah, and so snow's really bad because like snow will sit
Snow
and
is
it'll
really
smell.
bad.
Snow's
Snow
really
is an
bad.
issue.
Colum is sitting in the car next to me and it starts to leak. And so I'm like, oh, there's a towel, just put it on your lap. He's like, Grace, it's leaking. The car's leaking. It's just water. You'll be okay.
Please relax.
Calm your nerves. Please meditate with me and put the towel on your lap.
Just put the towel on your lap. Yeah.
Yeah, every time I take it, Linnea is just like, okay, bye, safe travels. Make sure you park it under a tree.
Yeah. My real goal for this car is that like I try to park it in as dangerous a situation that couldn't be my fault as possible. That's the goal. I'm like, oh, a hurricane? Like I'm gonna take it out.
Car out.
Yeah. I'm just gonna take her out to a tree lot. Just park it overnight. See what happens.
I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. So she's a good little girl. I'm the third owner. When my sister was little and I had this car like 5 years ago or so. Geez, have I had it that long? Yeah, I think I have. She would get her friends when they were over. She's like, oh, come see Sissy's car. It's so cool. It has rolly windows. And I was like, what?
It's like
it's because you roll up the window.
Oh, no.
And she was like, isn't that the coolest thing you've ever seen? And I was like, oh God, please.
Isn't your sister also obsessed with a rotary phone? Doesn't she have like a rotary phone or something?
She does. She's into rolling.
Yeah, she just like circles.
Yeah, there's a rotary phone in my house now, and my mom like really supported Peyton's like love of this rotary phone. My great aunt Dot, she was moving out of her like home that she'd been in forever into an apartment, like not an assisted living apartment, but like an apartment for like retired, like kind of more elderly people. Mm-hmm. And so she was cleaning out her house, and Peyton found this phone, and she was like, "Can I please have this?" And my aunt Dot was like, yeah.
Sure.
Now my mom, like the only place we could hook it up was it needed like to plug in and like stay in like a phone jack.
Okay.
So it's in the kitchen. Because this is an older house, probably like it was built in like the 70s. And so now when I like am in the kitchen, I like was trying to call somebody, and it's like to dial. It's just such an effort. And it's like I was dialing and then I like forgot that I needed a 1 before the 902 because I wasn't calling like a local number. So then you gotta start it all over again. And then it's like I like messed up a number. Or like with rotary phones, like now with like regular normal home phones or cell phones, if you like pause on a number, nothing happens. But with a rotary phone, if you pause for like 5 seconds, it like cancels it. So then you have to dial the whole thing over again. You can't think. So yeah, but it has a great ring. It does like an old school like bring, which is really fun. Yeah, and it like keeps ringing after you've already picked up the phone. Like if you pick up the cordless phone, it's like bring. I'm just like, why is this happening? But fun stuff.
So should we get into the meat and bones of this?
Yes, please. Meat and bones.
Do you want to do your little segment first? Oh, I guess yours is the bigger segment. Or do you want to do mine? Is a very little thing that I've prepped.
No, we can like we'll save yours for last. We'll do like, yours will be like the dessert.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay. So I posted on our social media and I asked some avid listeners and friends for their support to let us know if they had any questions. And so I got a variety, to say the least, of questions and things that people just were dying to know about the podcast process. We might have to get our producer Mark to chip in on some of these more technical ones, but we also got some really funny ones in regards to us. So let's start.
We're gonna A your cues.
Yeah, we're gonna A your cues. So we're gonna start actually with some pals of ours over at Canadian Politics is Boring. We're gonna start with some of their questions.
Hi, Reese and
Yes. Hello, boys. Okay, so Grace. This is an epic question, first off, and this isn't the first one. This is the first one, but there are multiple. But this is okay.
Oh, okay.
So I want you to prepare yourself. This is a good way to start. They'll be easier after this. Okay.
Okay.
And I'm going to go out on a limb and say that Reese sent this. It feels a little Welsh to me.
Yeah, I was gonna say, does it feel Welsh?
If I could do a Welsh accent, I would. But here we go. Grace. If an asteroid was heading to Earth, but you had a H.G. Wells style Victorian time machine, which era in Canadian history would you seek refuge in, and why? This is a two-parter. So that's the first part. Do you want to answer that before I ask you the second part?
Okay, so I'm going back in time.
You're going back, asteroids come in Earth, you're going back in time to any period to like seek refuge from the disaster that's about to occur. Okay. What time period in your H.G. Wells era time machine would you go to and why? So this is a little rickety. I don't know if I'd go back too far because
That's the thing. These kinds of questions are always so hard for women to answer because you're like, oh, do I go back in a time where I can wear a big dress and have no rights?
Yeah.
Or do I not play this game? When's a great time in Canadian history? I think, maybe I should, maybe like late 60s. I feel like that's like a cool era in Canadian history. You have like the Expo, you have the Olympics a little bit after that. Like there's a lot of like cool stuff happening in the 1960s. Pierre Elliott Trudeau.
Olympics with
I think Montreal, or no, Montreal was 70s.
Yeah.
Expo 67 at least was
Expo 67 happened. Yeah, that was in the 60s. Yeah, Trudeau is prime minister.
Yeah, do a Summer of Love bit.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Okay, now.
Do you have an answer?
Well, first, I'm going to ask you the two-parter of this.
Oh, okay.
So you're picking the mid 70s.
Like late 60s.
Oh, late 60s. Late 60s. Yeah. Okay, perfect. I was totally off. You're picking the late 60s. What one modern thing would you take with you?
What modern thing would I take with me?
This feels very Reese to me.
Well, my phone won't really do me any good because there's no cell towers and stuff.
Well, and people will also be like, who is this crazy person with this computer in her hand? Like,
oh my God. It would be really weird to like not have like Spotify. But like also there's not really internet, and so there's nothing to support that application. Yeah. Maybe a Pfizer vaccine. Coronavirus Pfizer vaccine. So when we loop back around to 2020, assuming I make it that long, I can be like, guys, the ingredients are in my blood. We can like skip this whole thing.
I got it. Yeah. Okay, I like that. That's a good answer. Okay, so me, same question. I'm going to answer the same question. If I was going back in Canadian history, that's very specific, like Canadian history, not like world history, just like where are you going in Canadian history? I think I'd go to like the early 80s.
Ooh, fun.
Yeah. Actually, No, that's not true. I'd go early 70s. Okay. Because, and this sounds kind of lame, I think like space is really cool, and I think moon landing stuff is really cool, and like like North Americans went to the moon in like 69, and like in the early 70s, like my mom talks about, and she was born in 70, and she talks about being in school and like they take you to class to like watch space missions and stuff, and like it was so new and exciting, and people didn't know about like life, like being on the moon. Like, could people go to the moon? Like, is this something you can do? And so I think that would just be a really cool time in like scientific history, like stuff happening. Also some great music happening in that time period.
Fever.
Not just for, not just for Canada, but for the entire world. There's a lot of great music. Yeah, I think that would be a fun time period to be in. And kind of like, it'd be like seeing kind of the time period my mom grew up in, which I think would be kind of cool.
That's cool.
To kind of have that. What would I bring? Jeepers. Honestly, like, the girls at Rival and Queen taught me to go with your gut, and I think I'd bring pizza pockets. I don't think they were invented then. And
if they have been invented, they definitely hadn't been perfected. Like,
right? And
they're not 2020 pizza pockets.
They're not. Yeah, and it's like just an easy snack. It wouldn't freak people out too much to have this thing. I'd just be like, no, they're European, and they'd be like, oh yes, European. Yes.
I love that you're time traveling, and you're like, oh shit, I can't let anyone know that I'm from the future. And your like covert plan is you're like, oh, I'm just European. Oh no, she's just from Romania. Like, yeah, it's fine.
Yeah. Actually, I'm just like Hungarian, and we just like to put food inside of food. Yeah.
just like, oh no, she's just from the Baltics. Don't worry about it. She's just a foreign exchange student.
It's really chill.
Totally chill.
Yeah. So that was our first question from the boys at Politics is Boring.
They sent another one.
Oh, they did, and I don't know if I wanna. No, I don't want to jump around a little. These are fun. Let's do the boys first, and then we'll move on. So, in your dream historical dinner party, which 4 Canadian figures would you invite, and what dish would you serve? Yes, what would you serve as a dish? Yes.
Am I cooking? Because then I also have to pick something that I can cook.
It doesn't specify. I don't think so. I would say if you're having a dinner party that big, Grace, I would say that you have hired help for that.
Okay. Understandable. 4 historical Canadian figures. Well, gotta have my boy Wilder Penfield at the table.
Oh yeah.
He's my arm candy for the night.
A little after supper action with Wilder.
He's my dessert, if you know what I mean. Don't listen to this episode, Eric. Who else would I invite? My brain just jumps to Heritage Minutes right away, but it doesn't have to be confined by the Heritage Minute.
This is just Canadian people in Canadian history.
It's anybody I want.
Yeah. Now you do want there to be good conversation. So do you want variety? Do you want similarities? Like, what are you looking for?
This is true. Like I like her a lot, but I don't think I'd invite Lucy Maud Montgomery. I feel like she'd just kind of be a bummer.
Same thing as how I feel about Emily Carr.
Yeah, like she'd be crazy. She might bring a monkey. Actually, that might be kind of fun.
Actually, yeah, she might be fun.
I might invite Emily Carr because she might bring a monkey.
Yeah.
As a asterisk to her invitation, needs to bring the monkey. Who else? Maybe like William Lyle Mackenzie King, just so I can say his name to his face.
To like, write it on like a place card.
The Honorable William Lyon Mackenzie King.
That's such a good name. Just to ask him permission to like name your firstborn after him.
Yeah, can I name my kid Lion? Lion King. That's the next.
Oh my god!
The next series.
Mind blown.
And one last person.
No, that's only. Oh no, you did say So Penfield, and Emily Carr, and William Lyon Mackenzie King, and one more.
Well, do you know any off the top of your head? I'm going to keep thinking.
Do you know what you'd serve though?
Ooh. It might be just because I like had them yesterday, but crepes. I had crepes yesterday. Nice. And I'm just like, man, crepes are so good. You could
crepes good.
You could like give people crepes and then like just have all the different like you do like a crepe bar and you could like do like it's savory, like it's sweet. Like I don't know what you guys like. So yeah, I think I would do like a crepe bar situation.
Yeah, I like that. Who would I invite? I would invite Gordie Howe.
Ooh, good one.
And I would invite Sitting Bull because I think
oh hell yeah.
I think they would like have some good combos about being like leaders and they're like whatever, you know. I feel like they'd be like they would be like the men who are like, you know, like different but like would be able to find similarities.
Sure.
They probably like the same golfers, you know. So I'd invite those two for sure. I don't even like her, but I'm just like Celine Dion. Celine Dion must come.
I love that she's a historical figure and she's alive.
Yeah, no, she's not.
Are you inviting like current Celine Dion or like Celine Dion, like Titanic era Celine Dion?
Probably current Celine Dion. But no, I'm not going to invite her. She's not invited. She's off the guest list.
She's not invited.
So, no. So it's Sitting Bull and Gordie Howe. And
I have my last invite.
Okay, who's your fourth?
I want La Bolduc to come because I feel like she would just be like such a time. She would be so fun. And she'd like also be like, all right, now we're singing songs. And I'm like, love this. Thank you for the transition to the second part of the evening.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's true. I think she might have to be on my invite list as well.
Totally.
And I don't know if somebody just did the episode recently, but like I just didn't know how cool she is. And she's so cool.
She's so chill. My dad said it's his favorite episode.
It's so good. Like, it was my favorite. It was a good episode. So yeah, so I'm gonna invite Gordie Howe and Sitting Bull and La Bolduc and Winnie the Pooh. I'm gonna invite the bear.
Absolutely, you're gonna invite the bear.
Have some snugs.
What are you gonna serve the bear?
Honey.
What are you gonna serve everybody else?
Okay, everybody else. Oh no, I've changed my mind. Winnie is going to get maple syrup because that's just like more Canadian, and I feel like Winnie would enjoy that. For La Bolduc, Sitting Bull, and Gordie Howe, I feel like there would be some great conversations. I bet Gordie Howe has a beautiful voice. I bet he did. What am I going to serve? Poutine, but like a poutine bar. Kind of like your crepe. Yeah. So everybody gets the fries with the cheese curds and the gravy, but then there's like bacon bits and chives and like pulled pork and like you can like mix it up.
Mix it up as you want.
Yeah, so that's what I'm gonna do. And what are we gonna drink?
Ooh, a drink. I mean, Caesars are Canadian, but I know you don't like Caesars.
I know I don't like Caesars, but I feel like, you know, they might. I don't know if I guess the Caesar was probably invented while Gordie Howe was still alive, but the other two might never have had a Caesar. And I feel like everybody at least should have a Caesar once. So, and I feel like Winnie would really dig a Caesar. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna go with. That was fun. That was a fun one. Okay, so now we have a few what ifs from the boys. Okay. Do you want to answer some what ifs?
Absolutely.
What if they weren't allowed to cut the bottom out of the basket? How would that have shaped the game of basketball? Let's discuss these. Let's use these as discussion questions.
Yeah. Okay. So they're referring to the fact that like to get the ball out of these peach baskets in the first games of basketball, they cut a tiny little hole so they could like pop the balls out with a broom.
Yeah. And so what if like you had never cut the bottom out of those baskets and you had just had to scoop the basketball out? That was just how the game was played. How would that have affected the game of how would that affect the game of basketball?
I think to this day, we would have a professional role in basketball, much like the referees. Their job is they're just the ball scooper, and they have a giant ladle, and they sit on top of the net. It's a very dangerous job. It's a very precarious seat, but great
You have
seat.
to be below 5'10". So
below 5'10", you have to meet certain weight requirements.
Just like being a costume character in Disney World, you have to meet like the height and the weight requirements. Yeah.
Yep. This is the image of the NBA we're talking about.
Exactly.
So yeah, they gotta like pop the ball out every time, but they gotta be fast because basketball's a fast game. So.
Well, see, that's what I was thinking. Would this then? So if there is no basket cut out, does this become a stoppage of play?
Maybe.
And I'm like, basketball is already absolutely insane for the amount of stoppage of play. You see 3 minutes on a clock in basketball and 4 hours go by and the game's still not done. Like basketball stoppage is insane. So I'm like, this can't be something that would cause more stoppage. So yeah, I like your idea of like a little person just being like pluck, boom, and like, yeah.
Or I think maybe there would be like magnets on the ball. And you could hover, like the guy would hover a big magnet and go boop, boop.
Oh, that's cool.
I like that you took this question very seriously. And I was like, how can I turn the game of basketball into like Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory? Like, just ridiculous jobs that do not exist.
No, I like it. I think it's fun. Oh, Grace, this one's about your mans. What if one of Dr. Penfield's assistant was actually burning toast at that moment? Or let's say like eating burnt toast at that moment. How would that have changed history?
I don't know how it would have changed history, but I would love the Heritage Minute of like her being like, I smell burnt toast. And then it cuts to a guy. Yeah. His fingers just like covered in peanut butter and like everything, and he's just
like Eddie, not again.
Sorry guys, I just burnt some toast. I guess I'd hope that Dr. Penfield would be able to overcome those challenges of the incompetency of his staff, and continue the surgery, and hopefully the procedure would go well.
All right, and this one I don't know if it warrants an answer, but they say what if, but I think it's more of a wouldn't it be funny if Christopher Robin wanted to name the bear Winnie the Little Shit? And honestly, to me, that sounds more Canadian.
Yeah, that's how you know Winnie the Pooh is British. Right? Because they went with the Pooh
instead of Winnie the Little Shit.
Winnie, you little shit. Get over here. Stop stealing all the honey. Stop getting stuck in rabbit holes.
Exactly. Okay, so now we have a question. We have a couple of questions actually from an avid listener and fan. This is one of our earliest supporters. Her name is Kelly.
Hi, Kelly.
And Kelly follows us on Instagram and on Facebook, and she always comments on our posts and likes them, and we really appreciate that. So she's on Instagram as Kelly Ghostic. And she has a couple questions, and she was worried that she'd be too late. So I just want you to know, Kelly, you were not too late. So her first question is, what made you want to start the podcast? And I think this is kind of like a tandem question, but one night I was at a bar and Mark was like, I'm a podcast producer. And I was like, no, really, what do you do? And he was like, no, I
wait at this bar, but also I'm a podcast producer.
Yeah. And I think like when Grace tells her version of the story, it's something that Grace had been like, this is something I've thought about, like this, I've thought this would be really cool. I didn't even listen to podcasts really before we started a podcast. Like I knew that podcasts existed, but like so I think it was just, the right group of people at the right time, and it all worked out really well, at least for me.
Yeah.
But what about you? You had thought about podcasts and stuff. Like, what is it about podcasts that like you enjoy and like are interested in and wanted to host a podcast?
Well, other than a practice in pure narcissism,
Yes.
believing that people need to listen to my voice for an hour. I think what I liked about podcasts was that it's just like this casual form of media that just doesn't feel too produced. Like, I like the fact that it's just people having conversations, and I think it makes you feel like you get to know the hosts a little better. And there's so many podcasts that you can find, like, such niche communities and topics that get filtered out of bigger media. So for like a huge history nerd like me, there's so many history podcasts, but not just like history podcasts, but like funny history podcasts. Like that's what I love. Like I love comedy and I love history. And so when those two things can be combined, I think it's really valuable in sense that it engages listeners because you come for maybe you're coming for the comedy, but you stick around and you might learn something.
Exactly.
But also vice versa. I think it's so important for historians because I think a lot of the times you get lost in the sense that like history is so like grander and bigger than thou when like all history is made by people. Like people make history and you're a person. So you have this like really valuable perspective.
Chills, Grace.
I'm sorry.
For real. No, I like that.
But yeah, it's just like the same like feelings and emotions.
History.
Yeah. Like the feelings and emotions that you have are the feelings and emotions of the people in history. And so, you know, like it can be very base human instincts that like result in artifacts that we find or pieces of art or movements in history. Like sometimes they're very important and like grand emotions, but sometimes it's also just like I love when the answer to a history problem is just like, oh, they were probably bored, so they did something. Like I'm like, yeah, of course. That's like so relatable. So yeah. I think that's why I like history podcasts, and I think why I was excited to do one.
I like that.
But also it was like, oh yeah, I want to like have a good time with my friend.
Yeah.
So that's also great.
So yeah, that's the first question from Kelly. The second one is, which has been the favorite episode that you've recorded thus far?
Oh. I mean, La Ball Duck was really fun. I know it was really recent.
La Ball Duck was really fun.
La Ball Duck was really great.
My favorite bit still comes from the John and McDonald one. I know it was our first episode, but I am going to tell you, coriander spice is one of the funniest things that has ever come out of our podcast. Like the other Spice Girl, like that coriander was funny. Like that was a funny bit. And that really, like, I don't know, like that episode was just so fun. And so it just like worked that I think that was for our listeners too, I'm sure. But for like me, like venturing into this, like I was like, oh, okay, like this is going to be fine. Like this is going to work.
Be okay.
We're funny. Like we're funny. Yeah. And I like think about, I mean, there's some not less interesting, but some drier episodes. I think of like Sam Steele, great episode, but like it's just like it was a lot of
drier.
We were discussing like, you know, the RCMP and the like formation of like that, and you know, you're talking about yeah, there are some episodes where we're talking about serious topics as well. I mean, we've waited so long to do the Halifax explosion episode. We just released that. And but it's a heavier episode, and so to do, you know, John and McDonald, who showed up to a meeting 4 months late, like that was funny. Like that episode was full of just like funny moments where it was, for me, that was, you know, having that as our first episode, I was like, oh, like everything's gonna be fine, like we can do this and it'll be good. So I think that was for me.
And not to say the podcast has like changed really, obviously like the format hasn't changed very much, and like I don't think we have changed all that much as people, but it's that episode when I go back and listen to it, I think it was like when I was like, oh, we're making jokes for each other in this episode. Like it's really like that was the first thing we ever recorded. Like I don't know if anybody's ever going to listen to this. I don't know if it's just going to be you and me and our parents, maybe.
And so we just had, but maybe our parents. Yeah. So I like that question. And then this one is for you. Because
okay.
I don't get to decide this, but it's how do you pick which minute you're going to do each week? Do you have any sort of rhyme or reason, or do you just like, and I don't know the answer to this either. This is a question I've never really thought about. It's not my job to think about it. But yeah, how do you come up with the episode that you're going to pick?
I mean, sometimes they're thematic, like we did Halifax Explosion kind of around Christmas
and the anniversary.
After the anniversary.
For November we did.
Yeah, in November we did all of our like war episodes. We did Jim Egan during Pride Month or just before Pride Month.
Yeah,
so
we did.
Sometimes there's like a rhyme or reason. But to get into the behind the scenes, I have a massive spreadsheet. Not really massive, but massive for me because I don't do math. And of all of the episodes and like a short description of what they are. And I'll just, when I don't know what episode I want to do, I'll just like scroll through it. And if I'm feeling really motivated, I'll pick an episode that I'm like, this one's going to be hard to research, or it's not going to be like really clear what the episode's going to be about. And when I'm feeling really lazy, I pick an episode that I think is going to be really easy to research. So yeah, it's mostly based on the tides, the ebbs and flows of my motivation.
Like a little mood wheel. It's like Grace like flips the mood wheel and then decides the episode of the podcast via that.
Yeah. I go to my altar of crystals and candles and I ask the minute gods, what episode shall I research? And they go, sod houses. And I go, fuck.
And you're like, soddies. Okay, got it. That was a good episode. That was funny. And informative. And then finally, Kelly's last question. And she also says, after this question, she says, thank you so much. Love the podcast. Thank you, Kelly. Don't thank us. Thank you for giving us content to talk about. And thank you for listening. But what are your favorite podcasts? Let's do like your 4 favorite podcasts other than Minute Women.
Okay. Unsurprisingly, mine are mostly history podcasts, but I love The Dollop. People who listen to The Dollop probably recognize the format of this podcast is very similar to that. I love Behind the Bastards, which is a journalist. He like researches some of like the most evil people in history and mostly like focuses on like, by the way, most of like the evil people in the world, they're like massive nerds. And this is why. Like they're all like people you shouldn't be afraid of. They just have a lot of money. And I love Hardcore History by Dan Carlin, which is like super dry history deep dives, but sometimes that's what I want. And probably my favorite murder. It's like a classic. It's like, I love true crime. So it's good true crime, but it's also like fun and bubbly. And it's just like 2 friends hanging out, which I like. Yeah.
I would say Stuff You Should Know. I'm a big fan of the boys at Stuff You Should Know. They are funny. They have great chemistry. And I've learned a lot. Super informative. They also definitely have a bit of a passion / cult. I can't talk. A passion / a cult following for kind of true crime stories and like not so much mysteries, but like they do a couple episodes on like escapes from different prisons and stuff. They talk about the escape from Azkaban. That's Harry Potter. They talk about the escape from Alcatraz.
Honestly, my brain didn't even register it. I was like, yeah.
Yeah, you were like, escape from prison, yes. So I really love them. Chuck and Josh, they are super funny. And they have great chemistry, which I really like. They have a lot of great back and forth banter.
So important for like hosts on a podcast.
Yeah. Another podcast I love just because I mean, it's Armchair Expert, and so it's Dax Shepard basically just interviewing whoever he wants because he's Dax Shepard, which is cool because you get to hear like celebrities who you like and are interesting, like from musicians to actors and actresses to philanthropists to they've had during kind of the COVID pandemic, they really took a switch to kind of doctors and medical health professionals, which has been interesting to kind of see how the format changes when you're not speaking to a celebrity. And it's definitely been interesting. I really like his chemistry with audience. Like he just makes his guests, it's like very conversational. Yeah, there's a great episode about Sheryl Crow. Like I didn't even know I really liked Sheryl Crow until I listened to this episode, and she's just like so freaking cool. And the co-host for that, and she does all of the production, is Mal Padman, and she was actually like Dax Shepard and his wife, who's also an actress, Kristen Bell. She was their nanny. Like she babysat their kids.
Oh, okay.
And they she was like a live-in nanny, and they just became like close and like friends, and like yeah, they have this podcast together. And it's there's been a couple articles about the podcast, and sometimes people will just like want to interview Dax Shepard, and he always brings her along and makes her like the forefront, because he's like, she's the producer, she's the researcher, she calls the guests like I just show up, which is like very like I feel is like my spiel when I like talk about Grace. I'm like, no, I just show up. So I think that's also like a cool relationship for a podcast. And then another podcast I really like is Modern Love, which is so they actually just came out with a show about it on Amazon. Modern Love is a column in the New York Times. And people write in anonymously about their love stories. So these are, some of them are obviously like your typical like romantic love stories. Some of them are like love of like, you know, a parent and a child. Some of like, most of them are like more romantic like stories, but you do get those ones that are just like kind of tug on your heartstrings. They're cool stories, but they're read. So the premise of the podcast is that they're read by celebrities, and then at the end of the episode, the person who wrote the article comes on the show and then like talks with the celebrity and with the like host.
Oh shit.
Yeah, so it's like a story. So it's like they're reading a story, and then the person comes on and like talks about like why they wrote that. Sometimes they like don't have the people to come on, so they just like talk and like have other discussion. But it's kind of cool. Like and it's just like you just see regular people, I say that with air quotes, who are just really prolific writers, and you're like, wow, like you just wrote this beautiful piece for the New York Times, and like you've never like written before, but you were passionate about something and you wrote about it, and it was great. And then my favorite murder, because they're so good, they're so funny. Yeah, they're just, it's like high quality podcast. Like
they're who I want to be when I grow up. I want to be Georgia and Karen.
Yeah, the girls are cool.
They have their thing of like, are you a Georgia? Are you a Karen? And I think in our relationship, I'm the Karen and you're the Georgia.
Oh, I'm 100% the Georgia.
Yeah, I'm definitely the Karen for sure.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and so those were our questions from Kelly. So again, thank you so much, Kelly. We really appreciate it. And yes, Kelly is always one of the very first to like the things that we do. And yeah, the super, super fun follower of the podcast. So the next person we have who gave us a message, a shout out, is Sean Mcconkey, who actually has a podcast called the Anti-Show Podcast, another podcast out here in the great Canadiana. And his question, so this might actually be more relevant to our producer, or I guess more so Grace. And we kind of touched on this a little bit, but just your pre-production schedule and pre-production rituals. So how long do you spend on your research for each episode? So kind of what goes on before we sit down in the studio and do an episode. So how's your little brain work, Grace?
Well,
I
first
see the smoke coming out right now.
Yeah, I get a little, you know, motor oil on the gears and I start cranking. And I mean, time wise, it's usually like 2 or 3 days, maybe. And that's not like a full work day. It's probably like total 5-6 hours to do the writing, at least. Research, if it's something that like I've been like John A. McDonald, for example, I knew going into that one, like thinking about it, I didn't want to do his political career. Like I just knew that he was a weird person. So I was like, let's talk about that instead. That's way funnier. So it was more about like sourcing books that tried to focus on his personal life than his political career. But for the big difference was like with coronavirus and like COVID, I can't go to like libraries all that much. Coronavirus. For a huge chunk of quarantine, I couldn't go to libraries. I couldn't really get physical books, and that really limits you in terms of what you can use. So basically trying to be like resourceful with online resources, and some online resources are great. Like sometimes you have like Jackie Robinson and his Wikipedia page is like the length of the Bible. So it's great. It's like awesome. There's so many sources that I can like get from this. Other people
but
like
I bet like La Bolduc, you don't get that much information from them.
A little harder. But like, I don't know. It's like for me, it's just like, it's just like researching a paper. It's not a full-time job, but and it's fun. But as terms of rituals, I mean, we show up.
We have a seance.
We have a seance. We have a very witchy seance.
Yeah. Mark lays on the floor.
We sacrifice Mark. We have a new Mark every episode. We actually literally sacrifice Mark at the beginning of every episode. New one
Mark. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's Mark is actually stands for Man Around Recording Controller.
Yep, that's what Mark stands for. Absolutely. We will not try to make an acronym for Boudreaux because
oh god, we'd be here forever. We'd be here forever.
We mostly just shoot the shit. If it's dark, we'll have a beer.
We do. Yes, that is true. Okay, so thank you, Sean, for that fun question. Okay, so this is from the lovely ladies over at Rival and Queen.
Our queens
and Sarah. And these ones have much less to do with our podcast and more to do with us as human beings. So thank you, ladies.
That's why I started this podcast. Narcissism.
Yeah, it's just to talk about myself. So thank God someone asked.
Finally.
Okay, Grace. If you had to could live anywhere else in Canada, like for a fairly permanent amount of time, where would you go? Where are you going?
Montreal, hands down.
Okay, perfect. Easy.
Where would you go?
Vancouver. I'd go to the next coast. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I've never really been like past, I mean, except for like layovers and like flying. And so, I mean, I've been to California, but never to like kind of that side of Canada. Yeah. I think that'd be really cool. And I'd want to be by the ocean. If I was going to like be kind of permanent, I'd want to be by a body of water.
That's fair.
Yeah. Okay. What food is always on hand in your house?
Dried mangoes. That's the first thing coming to mind.
You know, I don't know if I've ever been in your apartment that there haven't been dried mangoes. So
there's
I feel like
dried mangoes.
Yeah,
I love them.
For me, what food is always on hand? Some variety of cracker, like wheat thins or Triscuits or like vegetable thins. I mean, something, yeah, like I'm a cracker girl. Like I'm a cracker and hummus, cracker and peanut butter, cracker and jam, just crackers.
Cheese,
like I'm a muncher, so I do like a good cracker. I'm also like definitely a salty over sweet lady. So like a good salty cracker is something I enjoy. So yeah.
I feel like we didn't have like the societal conversation of when Triscuits decided to take over the cracker market, where they were like, we're going to make the bougiest crackers imaginable, and they're going to be absolutely delicious. Do you want some dill crackers? Absolutely. You want cracked pepper and olive oil? Here you go. Rosemary and thyme? Bam.
Yeah. They have I think it's like a cracked pepper and balsamic. I don't know, but whatever it is like, but it's a meal and a cracker. Like
It's so good.
You don't even need something on that cracker. Like it is like you think of a Triscuit. You think of a Triscuit 5 years ago, and you're like, dry. Triscuits today, like these little triangle kind of thinner ones, they really cut down from that main square, and it's a new ball game. Let me tell you.
They have elevated the expectations I have for crackers.
Oh, 100%. Like vegetable thin who? I don't know, because now there's Triscuits that are unbelievable.
Please. Wheat thins are still good, but in a different way. Triscuits, they're so and they're, they're cheese bearing. They can hold a lot of stuff on them.
You can even dip a Triscuit. That's what I appreciate about a Triscuit.
You can dip a Triscuit.
You can really dip it. Like you can have and I'm not talking like a ranch dip. Like I'm talking like a real dip with real items in it. Like, a corn and bean dip. Like that can go on a Triscuit. That is a vessel.
Or a tub of hummus that's been in the fridge and it's been in the cold
in the back of the fridge.
Where it's a brick. And you bring that out and a Triscuit's like, don't worry, baby, I got you. I got you.
Your Triscuit's got your back. So yeah, I would definitely I enjoy my crackers. Okay. What sports did you play growing up, Grace?
Ooh. No contact sports. I swam. I did swimming, played a lot of tennis, and played a lot of curling.
Grace is actually Grace and Mark actually. I'm the odd one out. Grace and Mark are actually both quite talented tennis players in their own right. Grace has won a Nova Scotian Open championship.
Absolutely.
I'm just saying.
Thank you. 2015 Dirtle champion.
Yeah. Whatever that is.
I have a big silver plate in my house.
And Mark is also very good at tennis.
He's probably better than me. It's been a hot minute since I played tennis.
Quite modest, but he actually is very good. He's been instructing tennis. I don't know if he is right now, but he was over the summer. So tennis, so that's tennis, swimming, you curled.
Those would be the main ones. Maybe a little basketball.
Yeah.
What about you?
I went to a very small junior high, and so I played everything because if you didn't play, there wasn't a team. And so as to not let down the small community of Lunenburg, you played. So we'll talk about the sports I played that I hated. Okay. So cross country, hated.
It's just running.
Running events, did not enjoy myself thoroughly.
Nope.
Soccer I liked. My issue with soccer, I played soccer all growing up. I was always too rough in soccer. Like I was always just a little bit too I was a little bit too rough, and I remember the first time I got a yellow card, I cried, and then I never cried again, and I got them all the time. Yeah, I played basketball. I really liked basketball. I think I would have continued playing basketball. But when I got to my high school, I went from being in a class of 20 kids to being in a class of 360 kids. And so priorities just became different. I didn't know the girls playing and stuff. And it's just it's a new school, new stuff. The sports that I continued in high school with, I did play soccer throughout high school. I did soccer. I did rugby. High school is where I started to play rugby, and I curled since I was a kid. I didn't do swim team or anything, but I did all of my levels, and I lifeguarded and taught swimming lessons. Yeah. So I think that would be kind of the main things that I did, the main sports that I did. That's a lot. I also took 3 sections of gym in my grade 12 year, which
what?
Yeah, because first semester I took fitness leadership and gym 12.
Okay.
In my first semester of grade 12. But then in my second semester, I had 2 frees because I had a free, but I was in band, so that also equated to a free.
Right, yeah.
But I don't know, like in high school, I didn't have a car. I was just bored with 2 frees.
Yeah, it's a lot of free time.
They never because you'd have a double period on some days. So I was having like three frees a day. So I ended up doing like PAL, which is like physically active living.
Oh,
so like
yeah.
another section of gym at my high school.
Yeah, I took blood to be active.
Ooh,
PAL
French. You are so how you say français.
They let us play Twister in the 11th grade. It was disgusting.
Oh.
It would just be like, it's a rainy day, so we can't take you outside, and currently
Twister.
we are conflicting with the gym. So y'all want to play Twister? And
everybody
it would
grab
be
some
boys
rubbers.
like being like, "Hey, do you wanna play Twister with me?" Like, no, I don't want to fucking play Twister with you.
Ever again. Okay, and we have one more question from the lovely ladies at Rival and Queen. And it is, Grace, what job would you be terrible at? Like, what is a job that you would be terrible at? What is a job you would
many.
I know, right? That's my thought with that. I'm like
so bad at so many jobs.
Like,
I think I would be such a bad doctor.
Okay.
Like surgeon. I just like I wouldn't be able to deal with it very well mentally. Like, just like, oh my God, someone's life is in my hands. I would not do well with that kind of pressure. But then on top of that, just like the like mechanical detail of it, I think would not be for me. Like, I'm good at like being on my feet and kind of like improvising and like going from there. You can't really do that as a surgeon. You basically have to memorize. I'm just gonna wing it, guys. Let's just wing it.
Doctor, this is brain surgery.
Oh shit, I'm in the wrong floor. God, sorry guys. I'll be back.
That's funny. What job would I be terrible at? Again, as you said, so many jobs I feel like I would be terrible at. I think the main one that kind of comes to mind is I feel like I would be a really bad, like a profession like a hairdresser where you're carrying kind of like a dentist, just in the fact that like you're carrying on a conversation while also doing a job. Like if you're a surgeon, they're usually asleep. So you're able to like you're not having to like keep the person like calm or like whatever, like carry on like conversation or like be like I feel like if I was cutting hair, like I would, when I do stuff like that, I feel like I get like really focused and I feel like no one would like me because I feel like you go to a hairdresser to have like conversation and stuff. Like you expect them to like speak to you. And I don't know if I'd be able to do that. Like, I don't know if I'd be able to like, I'm just like very hypercritical of like my work. And so I just feel like I'd be like, oh God, your hair looks awful. And then I'd like cut more and then they'd be bald. And I'd be like, oh, they're perfect.
Well, I'm surprised you said hairdresser because you do a good men's haircut.
I do a good gentleman's haircut. Now I will say
barber.
Maybe I'd be a good barber.
I'm not like a hairstylist.
Yeah, men's haircuts I'm pretty good at. And gentlemen, I use clippers and scissors. So like I can give you a little fade. Now you need a good set of clippers. I feel like anyone can do a men's like fade if you have a good set of clippers with like the varying like it's pretty straightforward. But yeah, I don't think I'd be good at doing a job like that where you had to like multitask on stuff like that. However, currently I'm working at a flower shop where I've worked previously, and it's a very sweet place, busy over the holiday season. But I had a woman call the other day, and she called to order flowers. And then at the end of the conversation, she was like, oh, there's actually something I really need to discuss with you. Actually, she said the owner. And I was like, owner's super busy. I was like, what is it? And she's like, oh, actually, I'm getting another call. Can I call you back? And I was like, okay. So she actually called back to tell me that she she was very concerned with the fact that it says on the flower shop's website, which is a whole other story, but the website is like the national organization called Teleflora, which is where like all the pictures you see on flower shop websites, and then flower shops recreate those. So like this isn't a website that like your flower shop, like the flower shop doesn't design those. Like they just make them from a picture. Okay. So it's better to call a flower shop and ask for them to do whatever. But anyway, so on this website, it says that we sell Mylar balloons. And the woman is like, do you know how bad Mylar balloons are for sea turtles? And I'm like, excuse me? And she's like, thousands of turtles die every year from helium Mylar balloons. And do you educate your customers and clients who purchase these balloons on these detrimental effects to our ecosystems? I'm just very disappointed. A company such as yourself, people love to receive flowers. Do you feel any shame in the fact that you sell? Yeah, so that's super funny. So, I don't know. I feel like I'm okay at a job where you have to listen to people talk about random stuff like that. But, okay, so those are our questions from the ladies at Rival and Queen. Ladies, we appreciate you. Thank you so very much. Okay, so we have one more set of questions from Spencer. And Spencer from North of Normal. And Spencer from North of Normal would like to know if y'all could be there to see any events that there's a Heritage Minute about, what one would you pick?
Not the Halifax explosion. Thank you, Mark. Or Nitro.
Not
Nitro. Maybe the Jackie Robinson one. I don't know. I just want like a fun sporting event. If it's too dramatic, I think it would be scary.
I think that's true. I was going to say like Elsie McGill. Like I'd pick to be...
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
One of the girls in the factory, like one of the workers in the factory being a part of that. One of those women. I think that would be really cool.
Yeah, that's a good pick.
But I think Jackie Robinson would be epic, obviously.
It'd be so fun. And Montreal sports fans, they're a different breed. They're
other.
Yeah, they'll tear down a whole city.
Literally.
Win or lose, doesn't matter.
Yeah. So that was for Spencer. And then he has one more question. Which minute would make a good Canadian film?
Well, I think we talked about with them. I think Tommy Prince would be a really great movie. I know there was plans on making one, or they like did make one, but
I know that there is a movie where there is a character who is supposed to be Tommy Prince.
Yeah, there's an American film too that was really racist in the 1960s.
Naturally. Oh, 1960s America racist? What? That doesn't sound right to me. So, yeah, I think for me personally, a Heritage Minute that I'd like to be a part of would be, I don't know, like, as I said, like, the Heritage Minute I'd like to be a part of is, like, Elsie McGill, but I also feel like that's not very exciting. I feel like there are more that I could think of that would be more exciting to be a part of. But in reference to the second question that Spencer asked, I think, what Canadian Heritage Minute do I think would make a good movie? I think Nitro could actually be a really good movie.
Yeah, that's true. That'd be a good one. I don't think there's a lot of coverage of, I mean, we know that there were Chinese laborers, but there's not much about what life was like outside of labor for those laborers.
Yeah.
Not a lot of social commentary outside of academic circles.
Yeah. So that wraps up question period.
Oh my goodness. That's what we should call it. If we ever do Q&As, it's question period.
Question period.
Oh my God.
We're so Canadian and cool. The puns, they just roll out naturally. Don't even have to try when you're this funny.
Well, I have a little nightcap for us to
I'm
send
excited.
us off, and our listeners at home can play along. This is a little bit of a
Is this
in
a game?
memoriam. It's a bit of a game.
It's about Alex.
It's about Alex Trebek. It's a little in memoriam to. I've been watching so much Jeopardy over the last month too, just in like
Same.
just wanting to relive that. And he's such a good host. He's everything a host should be. He's so funny and charming, but takes his job very seriously.
Yeah, he's also who you totally want as like your uncle or your grandpa. Like,
yeah, he just seems very nice too.
He's Canadian.
But, it's also exam season for a lot of people. So I thought, we would do a little Minute Women pop quiz to see if you have retained the information that we have discussed through 2020. So I have tried to format these Jeopardy style. So please answer Jeopardy style.
This is not a drill.
This is not a drill. And so I have like 6 pop quiz questions for you, Linnea. Okay, this is the ultimate test.
Okay, I'm ready.
And if we finish, then we graduate into Minute Women 2021.
I'm going to hold my mic and I'm going to like click it like it's a beeper when I get excited. Okay.
All right. Question 1. Andy Minarski was best friends with this fellow soldier.
Brophy?
Ding, 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 ding.
Who is Brophy?
Correct. Pat Brophy was his best friend.
I could not remember his first name, but I was like, I know someone with the last name Brophy, and I was like, I'm pretty sure it's Brophy.
We accept last names on Jeopardy Women.
Thank you. Okay. Okay.
All right. Question 2 for 400. Okay. Yeah, I guess this is like our category. Our Jeopardy category is Minute Women.
Okay.
This animal commonly fell through the roofs of sod houses.
Ding, 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 ding.
Linnea.
What is cows?
Ding, ding, ding. Correct. You're 2 for 2 so far.
I'll pick the next category in Grace's history questions for 800.
History of questions. Wilder Penfield coached this sport while in college at Princeton.
Oh. What is football?
Correct. Ding, 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 ding.
He played football, but I didn't know if he coached football.
I wanted to throw in a twist.
It was twist. That was twisty.
Keeping with the sports theme. Okay. Question number 4.
Okay.
James Naismith learned to shoot basketballs by playing this game as a child.
What is Duck on a Rock?
Correct. I think we need to like revive Duck on a Rock and like play a game.
Please.
We'll have like B&V Media family Duck on a Rock.
Yeah, we'll bring our parents and we'll all play Duck on a Rock.
Yeah. False 9 will be very competitive.
Yeah. Rival and Queen will be very competitive.
Cutthroat. Just biffing rocks at the person for fun.
Yeah, exactly.
Just kidding. They're very lovely. All right. Question 5 of 6. So you're 4 for 4 so far.
Oh, goodness.
Throwing it basically all the way back. Kennejoak Ashevek was hospitalized in Quebec for this illness.
Oh, gosh.
As a clue, your grandfather also had it.
Yeah, I was going to
say. Sorry, we only accept Jeopardy answers.
Oh. What is tuberculosis?
Correct. Ding, ding, ding.
I was going to say pneumonia, but then I was like, nope, I feel like it was serious.
Yeah, it's not that shitty pneumonia stuff. Yeah. We want real diseases.
Real disease.
And your final question of the night.
Mm-hmm.
Stanford Fleming originally proposed this out of this world name for standard time. Ding, ding, ding.
What is cosmic time?
Correct. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a new Minute Women Jeopardy Big Fat Quiz of the Year, end of year 2020 wrap-up roundup champion, Linnea Swimmer.
It's not going to fit out the door.
She wins no money because I have nothing to offer her.
I have nothing but my own, what do the kids call it these days? Clout.
Yeah, you can wear this medal, this badge with honor.
Oh, that was epic. So that can be part of our question period, our new segment to Minute Women.
Question period. Yeah.
I love that. That's super fun. That was great. This was like a Christmas present in itself.
This was very relaxing. Yeah. It was very fun to chat.
It was very relaxing, except for our listeners. There was one moment where my computer completely cut out. And if I sound funny now for this part of the recording, it's because there was some anxiety and stress because I was unable to hear or talk to anybody.
Linnea suddenly became a robot voice, and we didn't know why. So
they just kept looking at me and being like, "We can't hear you."
Can't hear you.
So,
and then Linnea would mime in her box how the distress.
Oh, in my box. So thank you so much, everyone, for listening, for bearing with us for this fun Christmas, exciting
end of year extravaganza.
Yeah, slightly narcissistic extravaganza.
Very narcissistic.
For great night. We really do look forward to putting out a new episode for you every week. And we look forward to hearing what you have to say and the comments you make. So if you're not following us on social media, please do. We have big things coming in 2021. We are on Instagram at Minute Women Podcast, on Facebook at the same name. And then we are also on Twitter at The Minute Women. We also have a website that is regularly updated with all of our episodes and all of the sources and resources that Grace uses for each episode for her research. And you can find that at www.minutewomenpodcast.ca.
And make sure you are subscribed to the podcast. Make it a little Christmas gift to yourself. You can download the episodes, review the podcast. Think of a review as your Christmas card to us. So, make it nice, make it sweet, make it festive. And I'm sure you're home with your families, or if you're not because of COVID and that's awful, maybe this is something you can share with your family digitally. So, make it a family affair. You do it with your friends, Minute Women Podcast. And we're really looking forward to sharing new episodes with you in 2021.
So happy holidays, everybody.
Happy holidays.
Bye.
Bye.